It wasn't a loud confrontation from the beginning, but rather the sign of a problem that had been quietly building over time. Last week, at a farm in the United States, the scene looked as if it had just been struck by an invisible storm. Crop rows were overturned, the ground soaked and muddy from flooding, pipes shattered, and lush green fields had, overnight, turned into chaotic patches of churned earth. The culprit wasn't the weather, it was persistent groups of wild boars, returning night after night as if they knew every path by heart. In response, the choice was not impulsive action. Instead, it was a calculated control strategy, safe, legal, and effective. Before any trap was set, several consecutive nights were dedicated solely to observation. Infrared cameras were placed throughout the area, capturing every movement in the dark. Tracks, rooting marks, fresh mud patches, all were analyzed to determine appearance times, movement routes, and the size of the herd. The results revealed something noteworthy: wild boars do not move randomly. They operate on habit, with patterns that repeat almost precisely night after night. This also means that for control to be effective, patience is essential. Any mistake in the early stages could make the herd wary and cause them to disappear from the area. Once sufficient data had been gathered, the installation of traps officially began. Sturdy steel frames were erected, connected by thick metal mesh to form a structure that seemed simple but was carefully engineered. Every joint was secured to withstand heavy impact. At the center of the system was a sliding gate, a small component, yet one that played a decisive role. In areas inaccessible by vehicle, a more flexible solution was applied. Modular trap systems consisting of 6 panels were transported separately and assembled directly on site. These locations were often damp ground near water sources, places frequently visited by wild boars. The key feature lay in the trigger mechanism, a feeding trough connected to a mechanical system that would only respond when sufficient force was applied. This minimized false triggers while increasing the overall accuracy of the system. For several consecutive days, bait was distributed without activating the traps. This was the acclimation phase, when the herd gradually lost its wariness and began to see the area as a safe food source. With each passing night, their presence became more evident on the monitoring screens. And when all conditions were finally aligned, the decisive moment arrived. Night fell, and the forest sank into silence. On the camera screens, dark shapes began to emerge from the tree line. One by one, they stepped inside, moving deeper without realizing the boundary was closing behind them. The critical moment happened in an instant. The steel gate slammed shut with a decisive sound. Panic erupted immediately. Powerful impacts slammed against the metal frame, but the more they struggled, the tighter the system held. But capture was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in what followed, ensuring safety for both humans and animals while complying with legal regulations. The next morning, teams moved to each trap location. Large tarps were placed over transport cages, creating darkness to reduce stress for the animals. Under the harsh sunlight, water was lightly sprayed to cool them before relocation. From choosing the right timing, preparing bait, designing traps, to the transportation process, every step reflected a clear mindset. Control does not mean destruction. It is about adjustment, about restoring balance between humans and the surrounding environment. And from the devastated fields, one conclusion became clearer than ever: the most effective solutions do not come from rushed actions, but begin with understanding, patience, and a well-planned strategy.
Bears rarely appear with loud noises in the middle of the night. They usually arrive silently and are difficult to detect at first. Large footprints imprinted in the moist ground behind the house, shifted trash lids, or long claw marks on storage doors are the first signs, noticeable if observed carefully. Farm owners often see them but choose to ignore, reassuring themselves that the bear may just be passing through. It is possible the bear will not return. Everyone wants to believe it is a one-time, incidental appearance that is not worrisome and does not require immediate reaction, even though the risk remains present. However, bears do not move randomly as many people assume. Once they find an easily accessible food source, They can remember the location with high accuracy. Their keen sense of smell allows them to detect grains, honey, or livestock feed from far distances in the wild. If the initial approach is successful, a return visit is almost certain. At first, it may be a single individual, but over time the frequency of appearances increases. These visits gradually form a repeating, predictable pattern. A notable characteristic of bears is their persistence and quiet strength. They do not need to cause significant damage initially to achieve their goal. A single displaced trash can or a slightly warped wooden door is enough to create a familiar initial access point. When the environment does not provide clear obstacles, this behavior repeats as a habit. Over time, their confidence grows. A previously quiet area gradually becomes a familiar stop in their food-searching route without much interference. Many people underestimate the early stage because the damage seems minor. However, night by night, the area affected gradually expands more noticeably. Bears come closer to human living areas, searching for food near residences. Under motion sensor lights, they move cautiously but without hesitation. As wildlife becomes accustomed to human presence, the risk of direct encounters rises. This makes every situation more unpredictable and poses higher potential risks for both parties. At this point, using traps is no longer considered an extreme measure. It becomes part of a carefully planned and calculated control strategy. The goal is not confrontation, but to break the established pattern of repeated visits. When food is no longer easily accessible, entry becomes more difficult. This forces bears to change their movement routes, reduce visit frequency, and seek other areas more suitable for their survival needs. Setting traps is not done hastily or arbitrarily. Farm operators need to observe the timing of bear appearances, familiar routes, and spots where they linger the longest. Footprints on the ground, claw marks on trees, and images from night surveillance cameras provide important data. Once behaviors are analyzed clearly, trap locations are precisely determined. Metal cages are firmly secured to the ground, with enough space for bears to enter naturally, and bait is placed deep inside for effective attraction. In some cases, specialized traps are also used under strict regulations. The restraint mechanisms are adjusted to ensure effective control while minimizing harm. Devices are regularly checked to ensure safety and allow prompt processing. Safety for humans and animals is always prioritized throughout the entire control process.
Oh my God, there's a bear! It's on inside now!
Strange muffled movement, then a powerful.
Are you a happy bear?
At first, everything seemed like scattered, minor traces. An overturned trash bin, a few deep claw marks carved into tree trunks, large footprints pressed into the damp soil after a night of rain. But within just a few days, the frequency increased noticeably. The bear was no longer just passing through. It began moving deeper into human living areas, repeating the same routes as if it had memorized the entire terrain.
Up bear-proof trash cans and fun-culous. Speaking of confusion, some bipeds seem to think their question elicits more emotions than "tell me about your mom" Mother's Day to you.
What made the situation more complex wasn't the bear's size, but the way it learned. Bears don't move randomly. They observe, test, and remember every small detail in their environment. Once they identify a reliable food source, they return again and again, each time becoming less cautious. That's what makes standard deterrent methods almost useless. Instead of deploying large traps right away, the control team started with steel foothold traps. The placement had to be extremely precise, right at the exact point where the bear would step. Each trap was carefully concealed with soil, dry leaves, and natural debris, removing all signs of human interference. Even the slightest misplacement could alert the bear and make it avoid the area instantly. The operation began with monitoring.
Flake antifreeze on it.
Infrared cameras were installed along the trails the bear frequently used. The collected data revealed a clear pattern. The bear returned at nearly the same time each night,
But here's just a result.
following a fixed path. There was no randomness, and that consistency created an opportunity for control. For several consecutive nights, the area was left untouched. No new scents, no additional disturbances. The bear continued its routine, passing through the same spot without suspicion. Then, at a precisely predicted moment, the trap was triggered. A fast, accurate snap locked onto the bear right along the path it had repeated dozens of times. But the operation didn't end there. Camera footage showed other bears still entering the area, continuing to use the same routes. At that point, the strategy was adjusted. Instead of relying entirely on foothold traps, the team switched to steel cage traps, a more compact system, but highly effective for targeting individual animals. The cage traps were placed along the familiar routes, at points where the bears tended to linger longer. Unlike foothold traps, these relied on attraction. Food was positioned deep inside, forcing the bear to fully enter the enclosure. The trap door was designed to shut only after the entire body had crossed the trigger point.
It actually slams the door. He wants to come in here, which is a very rare. Take it down. There's no holes on either side.
You push it down and put it up. Now keep it all the way forward.
I'm gonna have it so touchy.
There was no rush. In the first few days, the traps weren't even fully activated. Food was placed near the entrance, then gradually moved deeper inside. The goal was to make the bear comfortable with the structure, treating it as a natural part of its route. Each return, it stepped in further, stayed longer, and grew less cautious. When the moment was right, the mechanism was set. The bear moved fully inside, focused entirely on the food. As soon as it crossed the trigger point, the door slammed shut. No escape. The entire process was quick, clean, and precise. And most importantly, it affected only a single animal without disturbing the entire area. From behavior tracking to placement decisions and trap selection, the entire process wasn't just technical, it was strategic. By handling each individual separately, the risk of alerting the remaining bears was significantly reduced. It wasn't the fastest approach, but it was the most effective and sustainable. If you want to explore more real-world, precision-based control methods, subscribe to the channel. The next videos will be even more intense and engaging.
In recent years, the appearance of black bears around residential areas is no longer a rare occurrence. Security cameras not only capture fleeting silhouettes in the night, but also reveal purposeful movement. Heading straight toward trash bins, food storage areas, or livestock enclosures. This is not a moment of curiosity. It is a sign of behavioral change, as bears begin to treat human areas as an extension of their foraging territory. And once this habit forms, controlling it becomes significantly more difficult. Unlike many other species, bears do not move randomly. They have excellent memory. A readily accessible food source can cause them to return to the exact same location repeatedly for weeks, even months. Large footprints pressed into damp soil, scratched tree trunks, or overturned trash bins are not just traces, they are a behavioral map. And to control effectively, the first step is not setting traps, but accurately reading that map. At a forest edge location, after weeks of monitoring with infrared cameras, a movement pattern began to emerge clearly. A large bear consistently appeared around 1 a.m., moving along the fence behind the farm and stopping at a fixed point where leftover food had once been found. There was no rush, no panic. Every movement was slow but precise, as if it had memorized the route. Instead of reacting immediately, the control team chose to extend the observation phase. They did not set traps right away. Instead, they established a stable bait station. Using strong-smelling attractants such as mixed grains, pastries, and sugar-based products. The scent spread through the air, but not abruptly enough to trigger suspicion. Over the course of 2 weeks, this location remained unchanged. The goal was not rapid attraction, but familiarity. Once the appearance frequency became consistent, the next step began. A steel tube trap system was installed flush with the ground, covered with soil and dry leaves to blend into the surrounding environment. The trap opening was designed just large enough for the bear to insert its paw, with bait placed deep inside to force further interaction. No element in the structure was allowed to create a sense of abnormality. When the bear approached and inserted its paw deeper to reach the bait, the internal mechanism was triggered. There was no loud noise, no chaos, just a controlled movement sufficient to hold the front paw in place, preventing immediate withdrawal. The system was designed to remain stable, causing no serious harm, but sufficient to control the situation. Immediately afterward, the response team arrived. The entire subsequent process was carried out according to standard procedures. Sedation under expert supervision, health assessment, and transport to an appropriate location for further handling in compliance with regulations. There was no haste, no confrontation. Everything unfolded as part of a pre-planned process. What is noteworthy is not the trap itself, but how it is used. If placed in the wrong location at the wrong time or without proper observation, the entire system becomes meaningless. Bears are not easily deceived. A single sign of abnormality can cause them to change routes and disappear for weeks. In the context of increasing human-wildlife conflict, control methods based on behavioral understanding are becoming a more sustainable approach. It is not about elimination, but management. Not reaction, but proactivity. And sometimes success does not come from acting the fastest, but from acting at the right moment. If you find this content useful, leave a comment and don't forget to follow for more scientifically grounded and effective wildlife control strategies.
In recent times, wild boars have begun appearing more frequently in this area. At night, they move down into the fields, tearing up the soil and destroying crops. More concerning, during the day, some individuals have started entering residential areas, appearing near homes and streets. There have been multiple cases of people encountering aggressive boars and being attacked unexpectedly. The situation quickly spiraled out of control, forcing local authorities to launch a large-scale control operation. Reconnaissance flights using helicopters were carried out continuously to locate where the boars were hiding and track their movement routes. Based on the collected data, the control team quickly planned a large-scale trapping system, placing it exactly at the paths the herd frequently used. Everything was carefully prepared, because even a small mistake could cause the entire herd to disappear and become more cautious. And once the location was confirmed, the trap construction officially began. Heavy steel panels were brought in and assembled into a fully enclosed circular structure at the predetermined location. Each joint was tightly secured and driven deep into the dry ground to ensure maximum stability. The sound of metal clashing echoed clearly through the quiet surroundings. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than a rigid steel frame. But in reality, It was like a massive door waiting for the moment to shut.
I think that'd be nice.
When you set it up, you make sure your box is on there.
Once the structure was complete, we moved into the final preparation stage. Infrared cameras were installed around the area, mounted high on tree trunks to monitor every path leading to the trap. All actions were carried out quickly while minimizing human traces. Then the bait was set. Bags of corn were opened, releasing a faint sweet scent into the air, scattered into a trail leading deeper
That bully one stays up there
inside.
and won't let none of the other ones in. That's why we want the bait at the back.
The largest amount of bait was placed at the center of the trap. This became the main attraction, gradually drawing the herd deeper inside, without them realizing the boundaries around it. Once everything was in place, the area returned to silence. Only the faint scent of corn lingered in the air. Somewhere in the forest, sensitive noses had already begun to pick up the smell. As night fell, the stillness grew heavier. Then, the first signs of movement appeared on the monitoring screens. The boars had arrived. The lead so stepped forward first, slowly sniffing and assessing the surroundings. Behind her, the rest of the herd followed. Wild boars are naturally cautious, but hunger and the scent of food dulled their instincts. Guided by the lead animal, one by one, they moved deeper inside. There was no hesitation, no suspicion. When the entire herd was fully inside the trap, the decisive moment had arrived. Without warning, the gate was triggered. The sound of metal crashing shattered the silence of the forest. The entire herd fell into panic. They rushed in all directions, slamming into the barriers and colliding with each other in a desperate attempt to escape. The ground was torn apart under the force of their hooves and heavy bodies. The strongest ones tried to break through the structure, but the steel walls held firm. Smaller ones attempted to jump or climb, but the height and design of the trap stopped them every time. Panic spread as they realized there was no way out. Before sunrise, we returned to the trap site. By then, the boars were no longer thrashing violently like during the night. Many were exhausted, breathing heavily after hours of trying to escape. Some stood still, weighed down by fatigue, yet still alert. Even so, their instincts made them react sharply to any movement. Seeing more than 20 boars contained at once, the farmers finally let out a breath of relief. It was the moment they knew the plan had truly worked.
Hey guys, let's go. There you go. Look, she is a tough. Taylor.
Along the edges of forests where they meet residential areas, the presence of bears is no longer occasional. They return, observe, remember, and once they discover an easy food source, trash, livestock, storage areas, they begin forming a dangerous habit. Once that habit repeats, simple deterrence methods are no longer effective. At a forest edge area in Northern America, the signs have become increasingly clear. Trash is scattered as if a small storm passed through. Tree trunks carry deep claw marks far above human reach. And on damp ground, large footprints form a fixed trail. This is no longer a wandering individual. This is a bear that knows the route. The control team does not begin with traps. They begin with observation. Infrared cameras are placed along movement corridors, not to capture every moment, but to identify patterns. After several nights, a clear pattern emerges. The bear appears at the same time, follows the same path, and pauses at a specific point before moving deeper into residential areas. Once the behavior is identified, the trap is set. Unlike smaller traps, this system is designed as a complete control structure. A cylindrical steel tube trap, over 2 meters long, with a diameter wide enough for a full-grown bear to enter without feeling confined. Inside, there are no sharp edges. Everything is rounded to minimize injury risk. But the decisive point lies in the trigger mechanism. Instead of using injuring clamp traps, this system uses a one-way drop door. Once the bear moves deep enough inside, its body weight activates the closing mechanism behind it. The steel door slides down quickly but without a harsh impact, just enough to block escape. Once inside, the bear has no way out. However, capturing the bear is only half the story. After the trap is triggered, the control team does not approach immediately. They monitor remotely through cameras to ensure the animal remains stable and not overly stressed. The timing of approach is carefully calculated, usually when the bear has calmed down. But not everything is always controlled in time. In some forest edge areas, there have been cases where bears move deep into residential zones without early detection, entering yards, livestock areas, or familiar human pathways. In close encounters, tension rises rapidly and people often have little time to react, especially when the bear has grown used to searching for food near human activity, making it more bold and likely to return repeatedly, gradually erasing the boundary between wild and residential space. The next stage requires precision. The bear may be sedated using specialized equipment, then health checked, tagged, and relocated to a suitable area, usually deeper into the forest, far from residential zones. The goal is not removal, but balance. But things do not always go as planned. If the trap closes too early and only part of the bear enters, it will learn and never return. If the scent is not natural enough, it will stop at the edge and disappear. And if the timing is missed when the bear is fully inside, the opportunity may be lost forever. That is why bear control is not a single action, but a tightly connected strategy. From observation, trap setup, scent guidance, to the exact moment of activation. As the boundary between forest and residential areas continues to shrink, systems like this are becoming the last line of defense. No noise, no chaos, just precise calculation, step by step. Because once a bear learns to return, the question is no longer whether it will appear again. The question is, next time, are you ready?
At first, everything appeared as very subtle signs. A few patches of soil were lightly disturbed, faint footprints marked the damp ground, and flattened grass lay as if something had quietly passed through during the night. No one really thought it was a serious issue. But within just a few days, those scattered signs began to form a clearer picture. A herd of wild boars was silently establishing a movement route right along the edge of the cultivated area. Their movement was not random. Every step followed a familiar pattern. From the forest edge, they moved along the tree lines, crossed low-lying ground, and headed straight toward the most accessible food sources. Once one found food, the entire herd would return. And once this habit formed, driving them away became almost ineffective. Instead of reacting hastily, the approach began with observation. Cameras were placed at the most evident points, where the ground had been repeatedly churned, where fences showed signs of pressure and bending, and where trails kept reappearing. After just a few nights, the herd's behavior gradually revealed itself. They appeared at nearly fixed times, moved in tight formation, with larger individuals leading and the younger ones following behind. A specific area was selected as the intervention point. It was not too obvious, yet close enough to the movement route to avoid altering the herd's natural behavior. Here, a mechanical trapping system was set up. The trap frame was firmly secured, and the door was designed to open in only one direction, allowing entry but preventing exit. Every detail had to be precise, because even a small error could cause the entire plan to fail. Bait was placed at the center, but not to attract them immediately. In the early days, the trap door was kept fully open. The herd gradually became familiar with the new space without feeling threatened. They moved in and out freely, slowly developing a sense of safety. This was the most critical stage, when their alertness was naturally lowered. With each passing night, the number of individuals entering the trap area increased noticeably. Larger animals began to move deeper inside, while the smaller ones followed without hesitation. Cameras recorded the entire process, helping determine the moment when the full herd was most likely present. There was no rush. Everything was calculated to achieve maximum effectiveness in a single attempt. And then the moment came. When the entire herd had entered, the triggering mechanism was activated. The trap door dropped instantly, sealing off all exits. There was no loud noise, no prolonged chaos, just a quick, decisive, and precise movement. The entire herd was contained within a controlled space. What sets this method apart is not how many individuals are captured, but how it breaks the recurring cycle. When the entire herd is removed at once, the pressure on the surrounding environment is significantly reduced. There are no more nightly returns, no more silent accumulation of damage over time. After that, the entire handling process is carried out under strict procedures. From ensuring safety and securing the area to transportation, every step is prepared in advance. There is no room for randomness. This is not just an isolated action, but part of a long-term strategy to maintain balance between production activities and the natural environment. Notably, when such a system is implemented correctly, its effectiveness does not end with a single use. Nearby areas begin adopting the same approach, based on observation, behavioral analysis, and controlled intervention. Because ultimately, the issue is not the presence of the herd, but how humans respond. When actions are guided by understanding rather than impulse, everything changes. It is no longer a prolonged confrontation in the dark, but a clear, strategic, and increasingly effective process of control with each implementation.
In many areas along the boundary between forests and residential zones, the presence of bears is no longer a fleeting occurrence. They do not simply pass through, they stop, observe, and return. Trash bins torn open, food storage areas disturbed, or deep claw marks etched into tree trunks are not random signs. They reflect a pattern in the making. Once bears become accustomed to an easy food source, they will return, repeating exactly what has worked for them before. At a forest edge location where these signs became increasingly evident, the control team began with a simple yet critical step: observation. Infrared cameras were set up along movement routes, not to capture every moment, but to identify patterns. After several nights, a model began to emerge. A large individual bear appeared consistently at the same time frame, moving along a familiar corridor and stopping at points where food scents had previously lingered. There was no rush at this stage. Any premature intervention could alter the bear's behavior. Instead, the team established a stable baiting site. The bait was carefully selected, components with a sweet scent, capable of dispersing well, but not too foreign to the surrounding environment. More importantly, the bait location was kept fixed over multiple consecutive days. No changes, no disturbances. The goal was not immediate attraction, but to create a sense of familiarity, as if this food source had always existed there. Once the frequency of visits became consistent, the next step was implemented. A culvert-style trap system was installed at the exact baiting point. The entire structure was embedded into the ground and covered with soil and dry leaves to blend into the surrounding landscape. No detail was allowed to feel out of place. Even the metallic scent was minimized through pre-treatment before installation. The trap's entrance was designed just wide enough for the bear to insert its paw, but not enough to allow a full view of the internal structure. The bait was placed deep inside, forcing the animal to reach further and prolong the interaction. This was not a random act. It was a calculated sequence based on the natural behavior of bears. The moment of activation occurred with almost no warning signs. When the bear extended its paw deep enough, the internal mechanism operated smoothly. There was no loud noise, no sudden jolt. Just enough holding force to secure the limb and prevent immediate withdrawal. The entire design was aimed at controlling the situation without triggering panic. Immediately afterward, the response team arrived on site. Every subsequent step was carried out according to a pre-established protocol. From safe approach and distance control to sedation under professional supervision, everything proceeded in a controlled manner. The bear was then examined and handled appropriately, depending on the specific circumstances. The key did not lie in the trap itself, but in how it was placed within the right context. If the observation phase were skipped, if the location were incorrect, or if the environment were altered too early, the entire system would lose its effectiveness. Bears can detect abnormalities through the smallest changes: a strange scent, a layer of freshly turned soil, or an unfamiliar object. Therefore, bear control is not a single action. It is a process. It begins with reading signs, understanding habits, building familiarity, and only intervening when all elements have aligned. No step can be omitted. As the boundary between humans and wildlife continues to shrink, methods grounded in behavioral understanding are becoming more effective. Not to confront, but to manage. Not to react, but to take control before situations escalate beyond reach. And sometimes what makes the difference is not the fastest action, but the ability to wait long enough to fully understand every movement unfolding in silence. For many years, black bears have been seen as symbols of the wild mountain forests, powerful, cautious, and leaving almost no trace behind. But as the boundary between nature and human settlements continues to shrink, everything begins to change. Encounters no longer happen deep in the forest. Instead, they occur right behind homes, near livestock enclosures, and even beside household garbage bins. And once a bear discovers an easy food source, it will return, not randomly, but following a route that is astonishingly precise. It always begins with very small signs. An overturned trash can, a few claw marks on a tree trunk, or large footprints pressed deep into damp soil. To the untrained eye, these are just scattered details. But to wildlife control specialists, they form a complete map. Every trace reveals how the bear moves when it appears, and most importantly, that it has begun to see this area as safe enough to return repeatedly. Unlike many other animals, bears do not act hastily. They may return to the same location over several consecutive nights, simply to observe. If no danger is detected, they move closer. If food remains available, they remember. And once a habit is formed, driving them away becomes almost ineffective. This is exactly when control measures must be implemented, not as a reaction, but as a step ahead. The strategy does not begin with immediately setting traps. Instead, the entire area is carefully surveyed. Main movement routes are identified based on tracks, claw marks, and approach directions. Infrared cameras are installed at multiple points to accurately record the bear's timing and behavior. Some bears appear so consistently that their movements can almost be predicted step by step. And it is this data that determines where traps are placed. Not where it is convenient, but where the bear is certain to pass. Once the location is determined, the conditioning phase begins. A portion of food is placed at the trap site, but the mechanism is not yet activated. The goal is not to capture immediately, but to make the bear feel completely safe. Over several consecutive days, it returns, feeds, and leaves without encountering any danger. This repetition creates a habit, an almost automatic response. And only then does the trap truly become effective. Contrary to common assumptions, bear trap systems are designed for control, not harm. Sturdy metal structures are firmly anchored to the ground, strong enough to contain an adult bear while still minimizing excessive panic. A one-way mechanism allows the bear to enter easily, but prevents it from exiting. And when the door closes, everything happens quickly and efficiently, reducing the risk of the animal injuring itself. After the trap is triggered, the next steps are carried out by specialists. The bear is sedated under strictly controlled conditions, then examined for health and transported to a suitable location, typically deep forest areas far from human settlements. The goal is not removal, but restoration of balance, returning the animal to where it belongs while minimizing the risk of future conflict. In many cases, it is human behavior, often unintentional, that lies at the root of the problem. Leftover food, unsecured trash, or feeding wildlife all contribute to altering the bear's habits. When natural food sources are replaced by easier alternatives, their behavior changes accordingly. And when that happens, control is no longer optional. It becomes necessary. Managing bears is not a single action, but an entire system. And when done correctly, the result is not just the prevention of damage. It is the preservation of a natural balance, where nature continues to operate by its own rules, and humans learn to adapt rather than disrupt it.